Hello, everybody. It is 5 o'clock somewhere. Actually, right here. on What day is it? Tuesday. I still have a hard time knowing what day of the week it is. I think we all do, don't we? I mean, does anybody really remember? It just gets so crazy. And I think that's how we've been really during this whole, during this whole pandemic. It's just absolutely crazy. So today we're going to talk about our teeth. Isn't that wonderful? So I hadn't been to the dentist for a very long time, and finally decided to do it a few weeks ago, a couple, 3 weeks ago, and I was a little frightened. So we're going to talk about going to the dentist and what that's like and how you can be protected and what the world is like out there. We're going to talk with my good friend, Dr. Robert Raiber. I call him Bob or Bobby. And he's got an office right in Rockefeller Center. So when I worked there at NBC, he was really, really, really convenient. But now I'm looking, where is he? Come on, let's join. Maybe he's suiting up for me, putting all of his protective gear on and all that stuff. How many of you guys have actually been to the dentist? Oh, here he is. He's coming in right now. I can see him. Yeah, and he's got his name is Rock Smiles. And if you're wondering what that means, it's because he's at Rockefeller Center.
I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm gonna try.
You look
Okay.
scary. You look like something out of a bad movie.
This is
Wow.
really me. I'm here. This is what I wear every day.
Oh my God. How is that? How do you feel at the end of the day with all that stuff on?
Actually, the reason I have this very wide one on is so that I can fit these glasses underneath.
Oh yeah.
This is an extra wide.
Oh my God. And what kind of a face mask is that? Is that like that N?
This is the N95. Very.
Uh-huh. And, but seriously, if you've got that on 8 hours a day, how on earth do you feel at the end of the day? Do you have marks on your face and all that stuff?
Yeah. Do. Let me take some of this off. I do.
So you make it look pretty safe. But
It
seriously, what do people, I mean, how long did it take before people started coming back? I know you were shut down completely for like 3 months. Then you got back to work. But how long did it take for people actually started coming back?
The first week we were back, I think, was the middle of June.
Mm-hmm.
And people started coming in the middle of June, slowly, by most of them with issues with their either a cracked tooth or a cavity or some pain or something like that. So people did start coming back, but not a lot of people. And I would say it's still taking time. We're only operating maybe about 50% of what we'd normally see in a day.
Yeah.
To answer your question about wearing that all day, is I'm not working 8 hours with it, but I'm working about 4 or 5 hours with it.
Yeah, but still, that's a lot. Because I remember seeing, like, when the pandemic first hit, I remember you'd see all those health workers that would have just these terrible marks around their face. And they were in emergency rooms forever,
So
you know.
I'll show you a little secret. What I do is I put this on, and then I put this over it.
Ah, double protection.
It's not only double protection, but it also prevents the marks on the face.
Yeah. Well, we wouldn't want you to have marks on that handsome face of yours, would we?
Thanks.
So you're at Rock Center, which is like the heart of New York City. And I suspect, just like me when I worked at Rock Center, you have a lot of patients that are workers around the area, right?
That's
Because
true.
there's not really a residential population there.
That's
So I guess my thought is a lot of those people, none of those people are working now. So how do they, I mean, has that really, I'm sure that's impacted business as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, that absolutely has impacted our practice, because people who most of the people that work in Rockefeller Center don't live in, a lot of them don't live in Manhattan. Many of them live in the suburbs.
Mm-hmm.
And I have found that people have driven as far as the Hamptons or Westport, Connecticut, just to come back and have their teeth cleaned, or because they cracked a tooth or something like that. You know, I should point out that a study just came out yesterday from the American Dental Association.
Yeah.
And it said that I think it's 59% of patients that are coming to the dentist are reporting problems of bruxism. Bruxism is clenching the jaw or grinding the teeth
Stress?
from stress.
Oh
And
my gosh.
exactly. And that's a pretty high percent, 59%. So that that bruxism has also led to a reported, what was it, 53% increase in cracked teeth, and 53% also increased in jaw problems, the temporomandibular joint
Uh-huh.
right here. People were complaining of that. So nationwide, they're reporting this incredible increase in oral health problems, mostly due to stress, as you said.
Isn't that amazing? I mean, there were a lot of concerns about people not doing routine stuff because we couldn't during it. In fact, my friend Mary that came out and joined me at my house, and left the city, and we worked together out there for a huge amount of time. She cracked a tooth, and literally, her dentist sent her a file and told her to file it down herself. I mean, I'm like, what? I mean, it was really like bizarre. And that was some file too.
Now, wait, did you assist on that operation?
No, I'm not going near someone's mouth. But the mouth is a place where you can find. I mean, obviously, I'm not telling you anything, but it's like we can use what you guys find, what dentists find in our mouths, can be an indicator of all kinds of other precursors to disease. So the mouth is a really big deal, and it's a really scary deal during a pandemic. Were you afraid?
Uh, no. You mean afraid of treating patients and coming
Yeah.
back into my office? Actually, no. And the reason I wasn't afraid is I know of at least one patient that we treated on March 12th, which was just before everything shut down. And this patient, a few days later, came down with a very strong case of the virus.
Wow.
And yet, at that time, all I was wearing was one of these, and of course, gloves,
Hmm.
but not the full armor that you saw me at the beginning. And neither I nor my hygienist, who used the spray and so forth, came down with any. We were both have tested negative more than once.
That's
So,
fascinating.
so my point being that as of today, I think, Jane, there are about 7 million people who have tested positive in the United States, and not one person that tested positive has traced that positive test to a dental office.
Wow.
So that speaks to how, we always took precautions. We always
Right.
we always wiped everything down with, antibacterial and antiviral um, procedures ever since really AIDS. So we've been doing that for years, and I think that's why, to answer your question about how safe it is, I felt safe in the office, and patients should feel safe as well because we've followed these procedures.
Exactly.
Actually, the only
Exactly.
if you came into my office and you had the virus, the person who's most at risk would be the doctor.
Right.
And yet, with wearing all of these things that I did, I feel pretty safe.
Yeah. Well, you surely were suited up. I'm like, whoa, who is this man? I don't recognize him. So, are you worried at all about? I mean, what is Rock Center like? I haven't been there in months.
Uh,
I mean, I used to be there every day, every working day of my life. What's it like there?
yeah, it's kind of sad. It's been from the beginning of June when we first started coming in. There have been more people, but it's still a bit of a ghost town. So the only people in Rock Center are the NBC employees, and that's limited, as you know. They didn't bring everybody back,
Hmm.
and the dental offices. And so in our building, which is the building opposite St. Patrick's, in our building, our dental office, um, on the 18th floor, we're the only people in the building. So
Wow.
there were lawyers and there were hedge funds and stockbrokers and all these other types of offices within our building, and none of those people are coming back. Some of my patients have come back and told me that they're locked out of their office, that their company has decided that no one shall go in. Um, so even though they've come to see me, they haven't even been able to get into their offices. So it is different. However, I should say that you probably know that there's a Del Frisco's restaurant downstairs and
Hmm.
Lamani.
Oh, I've
And those,
spent many a day there.
right. So those two restaurants were given the space in the plaza by
Right.
Rock Center, and they each have about 20, maybe 25 tables outdoors in the plaza.
Hmm.
And I've noticed from week to week they got busier and busier and busier. And at this point now, if you go down there at say 1 o'clock, just about every single table is taken. So more and more people are starting to come back. So I think that bodes well for the future.
Are you worried though about there's all these dire reports about New York City and its financial collapse and that real estate is, going way down and that, from a financial aspect, it's going to be in worse shape than ever. Are you worried about what
Right.
that's going to mean for not only your business, but just the neighborhood and continuing to make your livelihood there?
Yeah. Well, sure, I'm worried and I want to see the right things happen, but I think I'm optimistic that just like after 9/11, things are going to things are going to come back. At right after 9/11, and I think you remember it well. A lot of people left Lower Manhattan, and
Mm-hmm.
it just came back even stronger than ever. And I think New York has a lot of things going for it. And besides the United Nations and the stock brokerage, people are going to want to work in harmony with other people. They don't want to work from home forever. So I
Right.
think eventually New York will come back.
Yeah, I hope and pray that you're right.
Yeah,
Speaking of 9/11, it's kind of a gruesome subject, but I know that you worked really, really hard in the identification of some of the people who had died.
yeah,
Because the only thing that you could do were dental records, right?
yeah. I did. I got elected the night before 9/11, September 10th, 2001. I got elected the president of New York County Dental Society. And the next day, about 24 hours later, I got a call from the um, medical examiner and said, we're going to need as many dentists as you can. Come down to 34th Street, or 30th Street then, and see if you can help us identify some of these bodies. And so I went down there right away, and we tried to get some of my colleagues to come down. And the
Mm.
way we identified them originally was by taking X-rays of the victim's teeth, and then comparing them to the X-rays that eventually we got from the family dentist.
Wow. Oh, that must have been so sad, but necessary work because you wanted to bring, answers to the people who were so desperately seeking them about what had happened to people they
Right.
loved. Oh man. I know that you also have done some really interesting. I mean, you're well known for all the philanthropic stuff you do, but I want to talk to you about when you went to Alaska and were doing dentistry work in an igloo. Can you just paint that picture for me?
Actually, it wasn't an igloo, but it was a village of native Alaskans. They prefer not to be called Eskimos anymore, so they're native Alaskans. They were in a town called Hooper Bay, which
Hmm.
is on the Bering Sea, way up on the coast of the Bering Sea, where on a clear day you could see Russia from there.
Okay,
And,
Sarah.
yeah, and an extremely remote village of about 1,000 natives. And the problem was that in the 2 years prior to my going up there, they had not seen a single dentist. There were political issues involved. And at the request of the American Dental Association, I volunteered to go up to the village. And what was first going to be an assessment of how the children's teeth were. And then as time got closer, we realized that I couldn't go into a village as a dentist and look at people's cavities and pain and so forth, but not do anything about it.
Right.
So we changed the plan, and we made it where I would go for approximately 10 days. And and bring up portable dental equipment that was supplied by the American Dental Association, and then and fly into the village and treat children for that period for all their problems. And the interesting thing about it was that prior to 15 years ago, nobody in that village drank Coca-Cola or Pepsi. They you know, they drank water.
Yeah. No sugar stuff coming in their mouth.
Hardly any sugar. So all the adults, the people over 20, had perfectly normal, straight, virgin teeth without fillings or cavities. All the children, on the other hand, had massive problems of decay. Just probably some of the worst decay I've ever seen and will ever see. And that was because the soda company came to the village and put a beautiful basketball gym in for the villagers with a big center clock that advertised their product in exchange for being able to put their soft drinks in the school. And the villages in Alaska, these remote villages, don't have running water in their homes. So as soon as the kids got to school, they would go and get a Coke or a Pepsi. And they would sip on this all day. When I walked into the school, every single child's desk had a can of soda at it. Not sugar-free, but the sugared soda.
Isn't that something?
And that's basically what caused all these problems for these kids.
That's an amazing story.
Yeah, so it was pretty awesome. And so we tried to educate everybody. We've since sent, other dentists have gone back to that village after me, and we've tried to get some legislation passed to have more dentists providing help for not just in Alaska, but Native American villages, even in the Midwest.
Right.
So that, yeah, it is an ongoing problem. And what's interesting is I just got this journal article. This is today's Journal of the American Dental Association.
Mm-hmm.
And the article is all about talks about the problems that COVID has placed upon, especially on poor children who don't get to go to the dentist now. And who not just poor children, but all children around the United States whose dental health has been neglected somewhat.
Mm-hmm. Wow. It's so interesting because I have a lot of cavities in my mouth. My daughter has none. She's never had a cavity because of all, I think, the fluoride rinses and all that stuff that had been going on since she was, first went to a dentist. And she's adamant about, I'm not drinking soda. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. And it's just so interesting that it's kind of the reverse of what happened in Alaska. Because I see that with a lot of kids your age. None of them have cavities.
Yeah. The people who are against fluoride, this is an ironic part of the story, will quote that town that I went to, Hooper Bay. And the reason they'll quote it was back in the early 50s, they were one of the first places or the government convinced them that they needed to put fluoride into the water. So in Hooper Bay, everybody gets their water from one well. They actually have the thing. They bring jerry cans, like these large gasoline cans. Every single day, they bring them to this well. They pump the water into their jerry can, and they bring it back to their house to use for washing their face and drinking. The fellow who was supposed to be, a fellow who's in charge of putting fluoride into the water, and there was a certain amount of fluoride you had to put in every day to make sure that it had the proper level of fluoride. He was going to visit some relatives in Barrow, way north in Alaska, and he asked his buddy, he paid him like $100 and said, "You're going to take my fluoride job. Just each day you put a cup of fluoride into the water." Well, the fellow, instead, he thought, well, I'll do something better. I'll just put the whole bucket in the first day. and then I won't have to go do it every day. He did it, and I think he caused some severe illness, if not death. But
oh my God, you're kidding.
So from that time on, they never had fluoride in that village. And a lot of the internet people who are saying fluoride is a danger and so forth, they'll point to that village and say, look at what they did there.
Hmm.
but it was all a mistake. I mean, it wasn't
Yeah, and it was. I mean, overload of anything can be dangerous. So
exactly.
that is so fascinating. So what do you say to people now that may still be afraid? I know you showed us all your gear. I know you've been like really upfront about the protective measures you take, and I know how hard you work to reassure people that it's safe and that they need to take care of their mouths. Um, because the mouths are like the first preventive zone, I think. Um, but what do you say to people that still might be really apprehensive? Like, what can you tell them that will make them feel more comforted?
Well, I mean, aside from all the protections that we're taking, and I think we take a lot of protection, and we make sure that the patients are protected as well. The danger in them putting off dental work is much worse than any fear that they might have. We had we did have a patient that came in today who put it off for many months, and she's going to lose a couple of teeth. They cracked and they broke beyond saving, and we probably could have saved those teeth if we had seen her, back in June when we first opened up.
But it can happen that quickly.
Well, again, I think the stress is causing a lot of people to clench. And by the way, when we see a patient that we know is suffering from what I mentioned earlier, bruxism, when
Hmm.
we see a patient that has a problem with bruxism, what we do right away is we make them a night guard. It's kind of like what a basketball player or a football player would wear to protect their teeth during
Right.
sports. And this acts kind of as a protection between the jaws, almost like a pillow, and it keeps the any damage from happening to the teeth.
Yeah. That well, until that's. I mean, I had one of those once because a long time ago I had that problem.
Yeah.
Um, so I do want to tell people that you do have another life besides being a very busy dentist. Because one of my funniest experiences with you was when we had a big blackout in New York many years ago. And my daughter was stuck in our apartment building with her cousin, my niece, who was visiting us. And I was busy working, going live from Bellevue Hospital. And um, they couldn't get up to our apartment because there were no elevators. And we were up on, like, I don't know, the 18th floor or something. And so they had no water, they had no food, they had nothing. And you, Mr. Athlete, got on your rollerblades and took them water and apples and all kinds of snacks, which was something we'll be forever grateful for those, because otherwise those kids would have been lost.
Yeah.
So
Oh, I can still remember your daughter's face when I arrived in the lobby with my rollerblades.
she's like, wait,
Who is this guy?
what's this guy doing that? What's he doing like that? That was, I mean, that was
Yeah.
really, that was really fun. And you saved the day because, we ended up sleeping in the car at the front of the building because we couldn't get upstairs. Not only could we could have walked up the stairs, but once you got there were no lights, so there was nothing you could do.
Right.
So it was really fun. I see you're getting hearts and flowers here from somebody named Abby. Do we know who that is?
I think we do. I think that's my wife.
Well, she's your biggest supporter. But anyway, so 30 Rock is a place to go. It's got lots going on. I mean, there's restaurants you can go to. I know it's not the same. Is the ice skating rink going to open up?
I don't know about the ice skating rink, but Rockefeller Center has put into where the ice skating rink is big, large picnic tables
Mm-hmm.
where they're so large, they're circular in shape that you're socially distanced just by sitting at it.
Oh, really?
And they are ordering in from those tables I think one of the restaurants is Frenchette that was downtown. And so some of these restaurants that were going to open alongside the skating rink are doing takeout orders into that area. Now, I don't know what's going to happen with the skating rink in the fall. I mean, usually it opens early. I don't know what's going to happen with the tree. I'm sure they're going to do the tree lighting, but
Oh my God, they can't have those hundreds of thousands of people that crowd. You know how usually it's the streets are all blocked off, and
right.
I mean, there's so many people. I can't imagine. They've already canceled the ball drop. I got to believe that they're tree lighting is probably not going to have people there,
Or,
but I sure hope they're going to have the tree.
yeah, I know.
So,
I think I read the Macy's parade is not going to be a parade. It's just going to be centered at 34th Street, and they'll
yeah.
put various acts.
Oh, all these wonderful
So a
traditions. I'm
lot of things.
sure by this time of year we'd be back in full force.
Yeah,
But
well, there's a
there
lot
we
to be
are.
said about that. But I should point out that one of the things that we are very, very careful about is making sure that the air in the office is safe. And I didn't mention that. I mean, you saw all the gear that I have, but we also, in every single room, we have HEPA filters, standalone HEPA filters. So the filters are filtering everything out. But being in Rockefeller Center, we have one advantage over a lot of other buildings. When a patient leaves, besides using the HEPA filter that we're using, the patient leaves, and before we have another person come into the room, we open the windows. The building was built in 1930, and we're so lucky we can open the window. And opening the window is one of the best things because we're getting
Sure.
a lot of fresh air circulation. So um, the other thing that makes the office very safe is that we are, recirculating the air.
Well, it sounds like you've thought of everything. So go get your teeth cleaned, people. Don't put it off. Because we need to take care of our teeth like we need to take care of everything else. Well, you keep doing the great work you're doing, and hopefully I'll see you someday soon, when we can all get together again. Because I think you and Abby owe me dinner, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it's the other way around.
Or at least a round of golf or something.
Yes, exactly. Hey, at least you got to play a little golf when you couldn't work. So
That's true.
I hope your game's improved. Anyway, have a great night. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for
This was great.
joining me, and I will see you soon.
Thank you, Jane.
Sending you hugs. Bye.
Bye.